3 in the morning. You wake up for no reason. You grab your phone. A message from someone you haven't talked to in years, and that person has exactly the answer you were looking for. Coincidence? Today, I'm going to show you that the universe is speaking to you right now, not in vague metaphors, in concrete signs you ignore every single day. Why do monks spend years in silence? Because they discovered something. Silence isn't empty. It's an antenna, and you've turned yours off. When was the last time you were in total silence? No music, podcast, TV, no voice in your head planning tomorrow or rehashing yesterday. 5 minutes. Can you do it? In silence, something happens. You hear, not external sounds. You hear that strange sensation in your chest you've been ignoring for months. That recurring thought about changing jobs. That intuition about that person. Mary was 42 when everything collapsed. Executive, married, 2 kids. On paper, success. But every morning, that tightness in her chest, she ignored it until her body screamed, panic attack in a meeting. 3 months later, on forced leave, sitting in silence for the first time in years, she heard, and the message was clear. You're on the wrong path. The universe always warned her, but she was too busy listening to the noise. Test. Tonight, turn everything off. 5 minutes. Just you and the silence. Observe what shows up. Peter lost his job on a Friday. 20 years at the same company. 6 months later, he opened his own business. Today, he makes 3 times more. What if it wasn't luck? What if it was exactly what needed to happen? That relationship that ended and you thought you'd die. That plan that failed, that job you lost. At the moment, it feels like punishment. A year later, thank God that ended. Why? Because you wouldn't let go on your own. Alan Watts used to say, we confuse the map with the territory. We spend years building rigid plans, forgetting that life is water, and water doesn't follow straight lines. When something falls apart, instead of asking, why me? Ask, where is this leading me? Sometimes you need to be broken to be rebuilt. And this isn't cruelty. It's love, the kind you don't recognize in the moment because it hurts too much. You're at a job interview. On paper, it's perfect. But something in your stomach tightens. You ignore it. You accept the position. 3 months later, toxic boss, horrible culture. Why didn't you listen? Because we learned that intuition is irrational, that decisions need logic, data, proof. But intuition doesn't compete with reason. It operates on a deeper level. Your brain processes 11 million pieces of information per second. You're conscious of 40. The rest, subconscious. And that's where intuition lives. Carol was going to travel. Ticket bought, bags packed. The night before, deep discomfort. No explanation. She cancelled. The next day, that flight had a serious problem. When you feel that knot in your stomach, that certainty without explanation, trust it. Practice. Close your eyes, breathe. Ask your body, is this a yes or a no? A true yes relaxes, expands, opens. A true no contracts, closes, tightens. Your body doesn't know how to lie. Back pain. You take a painkiller. Keep working. Migraine. Another pill. Insomnia. One more pill. What if that pain isn't physical, but spiritual? Your body isn't a defective machine. It's a sophisticated alert system. A 35-year-old with chronic shoulder pain was asked by a therapist, what are you carrying that isn't yours? The family business, his father's expectations, the weight of a life he never chose. 6 months after dropping that burden, pain disappeared completely. That stomach ache before work, it's not gastritis. It's your body saying this place is destroying you. That tiredness that never goes away. It's not just sleep. It's existential exhaustion from living a life that isn't yours. The body whispers first. You ignore it. It speaks louder. You take medicine. Then it screams. What if you listened at the whisper? You think of someone. 2 minutes later, they call. You need information. That video appears. You're considering a change. Suddenly, 3 different signs point the same direction. Carl Jung created a term, synchronicity. Meaningful connections between events with no obvious causal relationship. A man unemployed for months sits at a coffee shop he never goes to. The stranger beside him is a CEO. They talk. Job offer on the spot. Luck? Or was he in the right place because he needed to be there? 24-hour test. For the next 24 hours, pay attention to everything. The phrase you hear by chance, the book that falls off the shelf, the number that repeats, the person who appears out of nowhere. And when something catches your attention, don't dismiss it. Ask, what is this trying to tell me? You know what happens to a caterpillar before it becomes a butterfly. It turns into soup. Literally, inside the cocoon, it dissolves completely. No structure, no form. If the caterpillar could think, it would feel terror. It would feel like it's dying. But it's not death, it's transformation. When you feel that deep discomfort, that existential emptiness, that sensation of being lost, you're not lost. You're in transition. The old version is dying. The new one hasn't been born yet. You're in the middle. Our culture hates this space, wants quick results, instant transformation, growth without pain. But life doesn't work that way. Life requires you to rot a little before you bloom. Thomas left law at 40, a year in the void, not knowing who he was. Today, 5 years later, he's an artist, makes less money, but sleeps in peace. If you don't feel discomfort, nothing is really changing. True transformation hurts because it requires death of the ego, of old patterns, of the stories you told about yourself. Do you control your heart beating? Control the sun rising? Control gravity holding you to the ground? No, and yet, it happens perfectly. So why do we think we need to control everything else? You didn't come into this world. You came from it. Alan Watts loved this image. You're like a wave in the ocean. The wave might seem separate, might even have a name, but it's ocean. Always was, always will be. When you understand this, everything changes. You stop fighting against the current because you are the current. Dancing with life is different from fighting against it. When you dance, you still move, still act, still decide. But there's a different quality. You're not trying to dominate, you're collaborating. Rigidity breaks, always breaks, but flexibility flows. How did you almost die today? Not dramatically. Symbolically, how many unique, irreplaceable, precious moments have you lost looking at a screen? We've been fooled. We think signs need to be grandiose, a mystical vision, lightning at the right time, a cinematic revelation. But the truth, the universe speaks softly. A sign can be a stranger's smile when you're feeling invisible, can be a traffic delay that saved you from an accident ahead, can be a phrase dropped in a casual conversation that answers that question consuming you. Signs don't shout, they whisper, because they're made for those who are awake. Alan Watts used to say, we live as if we're on a journey, always focused on the destination, forgetting that the journey is the point. A 7-year-old asks his father, Dad, you're here, but are you with me? That broke him. Because it was true, he was there every day, but absent. Presence isn't about quantity of time, it's about quality of attention. What's the meaning of life? Does God exist? What happens after death? You want answers. Definitive, clear, no room for doubt. But what if this need for certainty is killing you? Children need definitive answers, black and white, good and bad, because the world is scary. But adults, true adults, learn to navigate the gray areas. They learn that life is more nuanced than rule, more question than answer, more mystery than formula. The moment you close the book and say, I know everything about this, you stop learning, stop growing, stop being alive. Life isn't a problem to be solved. It's an adventure to be lived, and adventures have unknown elements. If you knew everything that would happen, it wouldn't be an adventure. It would be a train ride on a fixed track, safe, predictable, dead. The fear of ambiguity robs us of adventure, keeps us trapped in known patterns even when those patterns destroy us. When you let go of the need for absolute certainty, something strange happens. You become lighter. After everything, it comes down to one choice. You can believe the universe is against you, that life is a struggle, that you were born into a hostile world where you have to fight for every crumb. Or you can choose another story, one where the universe is on your side, where every challenge is a disguised opportunity, where every loss opens space for something better, where nothing is random, everything is guided. Which story is true? Both, neither. But why not choose the story that empowers you? When you believe the universe conspires with you, you become an active collaborator. You pay attention to signs, follow intuition, trust the process, and something incredible happens. Things start to flow. Not because the universe changed, because you changed. Alan Watts said something beautiful. Trying to control life is like trying to control water by squeezing it in your hands. The harder you squeeze, the more it escapes. But if you relax your hands and curve them gently, the water stays. Remember the scene at the beginning, 3 in the morning. You waking up, grabbing your phone, receiving that unexpected message, that answer you needed. Now you know what really happened there. It wasn't coincidence, it wasn't luck, it wasn't chance. It was the universe speaking. And you, even without realizing it, were listening. The signs have always been here, in the silence, in the crises, in the intuition, in the body, in the synchronicities, in the discomfort, in the dance, in the small moments, in the mystery. They've always been here. You were just looking in the wrong place. But now you know, so next time you wake up at 3 in the morning for no reason, don't grab your phone out of habit, stop, breathe, and ask, what are you trying to tell me? Because it might be the universe calling you, and this time you'll be ready to answer.